Nepal's Gen Z protests force Prime Minister's resignation amid unprecedented political upheaval. Nepal has been thrust into the global spotlight as a wave of youth-led protests, popularly dubbed the Gen Z movement, has shaken the nation to its core. What began as scattered demonstrations against corruption and nepotism rapidly escalated into one of the largest political uprisings in the country's modern history. The movement ultimately forced Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli to resign, marking a watershed moment in South Asian politics. The protests erupted in August 2025 when thousands of students and young professionals took to the streets of Kathmandu, Biratnagar, Pokhara, and other major cities. Their demands centered on ending systemic corruption, ensuring fair opportunities for youth, and dismantling what they described as a culture of political favoritism that has paralyzed Nepal's governance for decades. Social media played a defining role in mobilizing the movement. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and X, formerly Twitter, became digital battlegrounds where protest calls, videos of police crackdowns, and messages of solidarity went viral within hours. Despite an initial government attempt to restrict access to these apps, the ban backfired, further fueling public outrage and drawing global attention to Nepal's democratic crisis. On September 8, 2025, the protests reached their peak when demonstrators stormed the Parliament building in Kathmandu. The scenes of angry crowds clashing with riot police, burning barricades, and banners calling for a new Nepal echoed across international news networks. For many, it was reminiscent of past democratic struggles in Nepal, but with a distinct generational edge. The protesters, most of them under 30, proudly embraced the identity of Gen Z, framing themselves as a new political force unwilling to tolerate the corruption and stagnation of the older ruling elite. Their slogans highlighted themes of transparency, accountability, and inclusivity. Signs reading "No future without us" and "Stop selling our country" became symbolic of a generational revolt. Facing mounting pressure, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli initially attempted to diffuse the unrest through televised addresses, promising reforms and accusing foreign powers of manipulating Nepal's youth. However, these statements failed to resonate. Instead, they deepened public mistrust, portraying the leadership as out of touch with the realities faced by young Nepalis struggling with unemployment, inflation, and lack of opportunities. On September 10th, Oli announced his resignation in a dramatic press conference. Flanked by senior ministers, he admitted that the protests had exposed weaknesses in his government and that he could no longer ignore the voice of the people. His departure marked the end of a turbulent tenure characterized by repeated political crises, strained relations with both India and China, and criticism over authoritarian tendencies. The resignation, however, did not instantly calm the streets. Protesters demanded a clear roadmap for political reform, including stronger anti-corruption measures, new laws to limit nepotism in government hiring, and greater youth representation in policymaking. Analysts say Nepal may be entering a new chapter where young voters and activists could play a decisive role in shaping the country's democratic institutions. International observers have praised the movement as an inspiring example of youth-led democratic action. The United Nations called for restraint and dialogue, while neighboring India and China, both deeply invested in Nepal's stability, closely monitored the events. Western governments, including the United States and the European Union, issued statements emphasizing the need for peaceful resolution and respect for democratic rights. Economically, the protests have already taken a toll. Tourism, one of Nepal's largest industries, has seen cancellations amid fears of instability. Markets briefly wavered, and investors are waiting for signs of political clarity before making decisions. Yet, many young protesters argue that short-term instability is a necessary price for long-term reform. Cultural voices have also joined the cause. Nepali musicians, influencers, and filmmakers have lent their platforms to amplify the movement. Protest songs and street art celebrating Gen Z as defiance have added an unmistakable creative energy to the demonstrations, turning the streets into both political and cultural spaces. Experts believe this movement could reshape Nepal's political landscape. Unlike previous uprisings, which were often led by established political parties or ideological groups, this wave is decentralized and grassroots-driven. The absence of a single leader has made it difficult for authorities to suppress, while also keeping the focus squarely on collective demands rather than individual ambitions. For now, Nepal faces a period of uncertainty. The parliament must appoint an interim leader, New elections may be on the horizon, and the constitution could face amendments to reflect changing demands. What remains certain is that the voice of Nepal's young generation can no longer be ignored. The Gen Z protests have proven that political awakening is not confined to older elites but is alive in the digital native generation ready to claim its share of Nepal's future. As one protester in Kathmandu declared, "We are not the future anymore, we are the present, and we will be heard." Nepal's story is still unfolding, but September 2025 will be remembered as a month when the youth of a small Himalayan nation shook their government, inspired the world, and demanded a new beginning.